Here we are again. If you're just tuning in and you're wondering what this place is, this is a fake mine shaft, Superman's got a Fortress of Solitude. I'd be more, your lower end superheroes. Obviously, they're on a fixed budget, fixed income. And this is my mine shaft. I think if you saw the first and second episode, you'd probably be wondering what's he going to do in the third one as a follow up, because they were pretty good about rice and oats. The third one is almost a cliche, but it's going to be very interesting before we're done. It's raw, it's gritty, it's visceral. If you have small children, you may want to ask them to leave the room. I don't want them exposed to this stuff at their tender age. It could warp their minds. They could be traumatized. Also, Myron, my trainee, will be sitting in to audit the course today. I told him, Myron, I can't babysit you. I got to throw you in at the deep edge of the pool to start, I don't care how ugly the subject is. You're going to have to learn this stuff in civil defense. You might as well start here. Today, Myron and I are going to show you how to make vanilla pudding during the apocalypse. One day in class, we were talking about using powdered milk, making it up in large batches to drink for people just arriving at the shelter. And all of us at the same time had the same idea. Imagine how good it was if you could make a good confection from powdered milk on the spot. Anybody could do it. It was so simple. No one could stuff it up. We had one from the government, and like everything from the government that didn't come from us, it was made up by people who clearly didn't care one way or another. It was listing ingredients that wouldn't be found in a shelter. It had procedures that would require, they definitely needed a field kitchen to set up. And it wasn't realistic to think people taking shelter from a hurricane, a tornado, or nuclear war are going to sit down in the shelter and say, bust out the field kitchen. We want to make some vanilla pudding. We'll set up different trays. We'll have different jobs. We'll have a 3-hour process by which we boil it with ingredients that aren't even stored at most locations. But like all government employees, not in the private sector, they don't have any accountability. They write something out, they throw it in the box with powdered milk. This, that, you can make with it. They're not thinking. And civil defense, which is not the military, we don't have the military's budget. We probably shouldn't. We have to think more efficiently about everything we do. We have to mean what we say. We need a recipe for some confection can be made by powdered milk. For people arriving in the shelter, particularly if they have young children, they're crying, they're scared, and you can go around and ask them, can I get you some coffee or some tea? And if you'd like, I'm going to make up some pudding if the children want any. I've got vanilla, chocolate, and caramel. And they can decide what they want before I get back. I'm going to go getting the stuff ready now. Let's get some mind off what's going on. It'll settle them quickly. These type of psychological tricks are also an important part of civil defense. And if you are the head of your shelter, their father, or just a man who's responsible for them, you should remember these tricks. Take their mind off their troubles. Don't let them worry about what's happened outside. A big tornado or bridge collapse or a earthquake or nuclear war. Don't let them worry about that. Don't let them dwell on it. Tell them we're bringing pudding around and drinks for anybody. You might offer them whatever you can make in the shelter. Tea and coffee are familiar. It's good. In those days, we used to talk about Tang, and Tang was stored in Lincoln, Nebraska in many shelters. It's a good idea for a flavorful drink you can make up, for people who don't want coffee or a stimulant. Anyway, when that subject came up of the crap that the government throws out there, because they don't care, no enthusiasm. My two instructors at the same time, they had so much respect for me, they said, we should put this 12-year-old on a new recipe for vanilla pudding, because I guarantee you Tex can do it. Tex will come up with it. Tex, you go off for 2 weeks. I'll give you some supplies if you want to take home. Can you work on that vanilla recipe for pudding and come up with something that's only got, at most 3 ingredients and can be made up in minutes by anybody? Anybody can do it. And they said, they had confidence in me. They said, guarantee you Tex will be back in 2 weeks with a vanilla pudding recipe that's realistic, that can be made in a shelter anywhere in the United States by anybody with no formal training. They don't have to know how to cook. They just have to know how to throw a few things together, stir them up, and then cook them, heat them a little bit. And that was a commission. I thought it was a commission for me to do that. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, after some experimentation at home, I came up with the recipe I'm going to show you. And do you know I've been waiting 50 years to share it with you? It's kind of tragic, if you think realistically about it. I mean, as of today, my only real contribution in 50 years to the Civil Defense Program, what with me being the last living civil defense officer of the Kennedy Civil Defense Administration, at the moment it's going to be this pudding. In coming months, if I can pull together all these different strands I've been talking about for years and release Vault Sis, I'll have a lot more to my credit. But today, it's just the pudding. And so, yeah, honestly, I'm glad to share it with you. Don't be scared, because this is really, really easy. If you've already got powdered milk, and you should have in any shelter, for any reason, any food storage program, you should have powdered milk already. Trust me, you can make this stuff in a couple of minutes. Here we are. You're not going to believe how quickly this can happen. Now, that's typical of the milk you'd have in storage. That's non-fat, dry milk, fortified with vitamins A and D. And you're going to find out why I can't cook. These packets that I get at Walmart, and I'll store inside another bag, that's about the right serving for at least 2 bowls of pudding. So I'm just going to use that right out of the bag, pour that in the bowl. That's non-fat powdered milk. This is granulated sugar. We're going to aim for something like cooking by putting 3/4 cups of granulated sugar. And of course, sugar is an important part of storage. You should always have some, because it can be mixed with anything to improve a meal. Powdered milk and sugar go together. They often complement each other. That's 3/4 cup powdered sugar. Yep, we're getting closer. All right, here's the magic formula here. This is cornstarch. It's been stored in fallout shelters for at least 7 decades. And the reason is it thickens everything. I don't know that it's that good for you, but you can make things like waffles from it, and a lot of different recipes require cornstarch. Here, it's used as a thickener for the pudding. And we're going to put probably about 3 teaspoons of this stuff in there. Boom. Boom. Again, I can't cook. You've probably guessed that already. I'm no chef, and look, I'm doing it. You're saying to yourself right now, oh, hell, Tex Arcane can do it. I know I can cook this stuff. And you're thinking, where's everything else? Well, that's pretty much it. Now we've got to add boiling water. All this takes is boiling water, which almost anybody's got some capacity to make in a shelter. And if you don't, you should have some capacity to make it. Yeah, we're going to pour in about, 2 cups. Close enough, right? It's still steaming. We use a whisk and mix this stuff up. Yeah. The heat is going to start to cook it a little. That cornstarch, it's going to thicken. So we're going to keep stirring it. Break up all those clumps. I can smell the cornstarch when it starts to melt. It's going to melt into everything else, including the sugar. Yeah, here we go. You got to stir it right away once you pour the boiling water in, because it's going to start to congeal. This does not require chilling. You don't have to put it in the refrigerator, but we will have to allow it to congeal. Yeah. I'm going to put the recipe up for this printed along with this podcast when it goes up, so they'll both be on the site. Yeah, we got to keep stirring it. We don't want it to clump up early, hot before everything's melted together. This is the time to get. We change it into different flavors. Cinnamon will go with anything. If you want, you can add cinnamon to it before anything else if you've got some in storage. And I'd say about yay much ought to do it. To add some cinnamon to it, which complements anything. First, we'll add a little cinnamon here for some taste. Now, first, we're going to make it into vanilla pudding. I add in some vanilla essence, which stores well. It'll keep for 10 years. If you can get hold of vanilla powder in place of this liquid, more the better. And it's quite common enough. You can get it in baking stores, vanilla powder, which stores even longer. It will store for 30 years if it's stored with an oxygen absorber. Put 2 capfuls of vanilla in this. And we'll stir that up a little. It still is not starting to congeal yet, which is good. Get these other ingredients into it before it congeals together. Yeah. So that right there, when it congeals, is going to be vanilla pudding. As soon as this is cooled, we could serve it as is. But you may have people that want chocolate or caramel. Or in my case, I'm going to try all 3. I tried it the other day. When I cooked this up, it was delicious, all 3 flavors. Here we got some Truvia brown sugar, which is a stevia-based replacement for traditional brown sugar. Brown sugar or molasses can store for 10 years if it's stored with an oxygen absorber. Molasses can store for even longer. This Truvia sugar would probably store for 10 years, no problem. But this is basically, of one form or another, it's brown sugar, which includes molasses. And we put a little bit of that into the mix. It'll turn slightly brown and acquire that molasses taste, which we will tell the kids is caramel, and they won't know the difference. We'll stir that in a little bit. Okay, so that's caramel. And of course, if you have hot cocoa powder, we talked about this stuff before. It'll store for a long time in shelter. You can put a few teaspoons of that into this, and now you've got chocolate pudding. So you got vanilla, caramel, or chocolate from just a few ingredients. Somebody in your shelter's got to pick one of those. There must be some pudding they enjoy, and that's the one you can make up for them. You can make it up in different batches, or you can pour it out while it's still hot and drop the ingredients in like I've done. This is identical to the recipe I presented to my instructors in Lincoln, Nebraska in 1975. We tried all three of these flavors, and they were all pretty good. Pretty good on short notice, especially for a guy who can't cook. Yeah. Now, I used cocoa powder, and that's got to be stirred for quite a while to get it to mix in, but it's still hot, so it'll happen. I'm going to keep stirring that, and we'll compress time a little. Let me stir this for another 5 or 10 minutes while it's cooling, and then I'll let it set for another couple of minutes, and we'll have pudding. There's going to be an edit jump to that. Simmer that mess for about 5 minutes over heat in a saucepan. The stuff that you see clumping up actually makes it taste pretty good. The cornstarch, now that it's soaked in and permeated, tastes like marshmallows, but the smell coming off it is fantastic. So we'll just turn the stove off. I'm going to let it cool a little bit, and I can see already it's really thickening up. This stuff is good. Once it's Once it's congealed, after that heat, it's going to taste really good. One more time from the top here, just to recap how simple it is. You got your 2 cups of powdered milk. You've got 3/4 cup of sugar. You've got 3 heaping tablespoons, at least, cornstarch, thickened for taste. The other ingredients I went over are for taste. They are to present it as a different pudding: chocolate pudding, caramel pudding, or vanilla pudding. The cinnamon goes in all of them. It tastes pretty good. I've given this a moment to cool. That's such good pudding. I've been in restaurants and ordered pudding. It wasn't as good as that. And you know, I'm an idiot. I can't cook to save my life. That stuff's delicious, though. Now, this ended up being a compound of caramel, chocolate, and technically vanilla with the vanilla essence. So this is all 3 of them in one. That's really good. If they were serving this in the cafeteria at Holiday Inn, you wouldn't know. You'd think this was a gourmet pudding somebody made up. Still warm. If I let it cool another 20 minutes, it gets even thicker. Probably tastes even better than it does now. So remember, you're going to have to pack powdered milk no matter what. Knowing that you're capable of doing what I just did is the same sort of reflection on oats. You're going to store oats anyway. You already know mostly what you can do with oats. In the last episode, I showed how you can make oats into bread. No problem. You can make powdered milk into pudding. And years of it, you know. It's very little ingredients for a pretty big bang. You can have confections in the shelter, in your refuge, your bug out, your off-grid place for years based on what you have in storage just in one confection. Of course, you want many others, but this is good to know you'll have this no matter what. In the middle of a famine, you and your family sitting down to some of this pudding, be like a vacation. Be so good. I shouldn't be eating this stuff. It's too rich, but it's delicious. This is a unit of your civil defense. Knowing how to make the desserts out of common storage food is an important skill to have, and now you have it. So if something happens to me in the next 10 minutes and I drop dead, it's good to know that finally somebody found out how I make this pudding. Now everybody knows. I don't think I'm going to finish this. It's too much for me. If my doctor saw this, he'd have a heart attack. Boy, it's good, though. Because powdered milk is so important for the basics, it provides protein, vitamin D, and you know, dairy's got amino acids in it that your body craves. We're predators. Our eyes set forward. We have canines. Sorry, but we eat meat, and thanks to the Neanderthals, most of us have the lactose gene to digest dairy, including the most important lactose of all, that supports the Lactobacillus reuteri. It makes us capable of love, alertness, awareness, keeps us from turning into zombies. I've been on reuteri now for about 3 months. It's altered my consciousness. It's helped repair my stroke, and I think it's sharpened my mind in the time I've been on it. If I didn't eat crap like this, I'd probably be a lot better off. But in a shelter, as a dessert for morale boosting, you can't beat pudding. Until next episode, thanks for watching this crazy thing. I'm glad that I was able to pass that recipe on to someone else. This is Texas Arcane out.
This is a unit of your civil defense.